Before we dive into these incredible survival strategies, make sure to subscribe to After the Sirens and, comment below with your thoughts on which of these meals you find the most fascinating. This guide is not just a trip down history lane. It's a resource for serious history buffs and survival enthusiasts who want to understand how ordinary families endured truly extraordinary times. These are the meals that didn't make it into cookbooks or family stories very often, yet they were the backbone of survival during the Second World War, particularly in regions cut off by occupation, bombings, or the loss of supply chains. During the Second World War, millions of families across Europe faced the ultimate challenge: surviving complete isolation with severely restricted access to food. What they ate wasn't gourmet or, Instagram-worthy. It was practical, often harsh, yet, honestly, quite ingenious. Each meal carried not just calories, but knowledge, resourcefulness, and a way to stretch meagre rations into something that could sustain life over weeks or even months. Let's explore 9 forgotten meals that played a vital role in keeping families alive when no stores, markets, or aid were accessible. Families relied on bread substitutes made from anything that could be ground into flour. Traditional bread became a luxury for many families. In occupied regions, wheat flour was often rationed or simply unobtainable. People turned to substitutes made from acorns, chestnuts, or even dried nettle leaves. Acorns, once leached of their tannins by soaking in multiple changes of water, could be roasted, ground, and mixed with other flours to make a dense, nutty bread. This bread was far from the soft loaves we know today, but it provided fibre, calories, and essential nutrients when no other grains were available. A practical application today for survivalists is, experimenting with wild forage flowers in controlled quantities to understand their nutritional properties and preparation techniques. Vegetable peels and green tops were transformed into soups that lasted days. Scraps from potatoes, carrots, and turnips were not discarded. Instead, they became the base for thick, flavorful soups that could feed a family for days. Peels and tops were boiled slowly, often with small amounts of meat or bone broth when available, to extract every possible nutrient. Families learned to rotate these soups with different scraps to prevent monotony. Modern survival enthusiasts can replicate this method by collecting and properly washing vegetable scraps, then using slow cooking techniques to maximize nutrients, creating a stock that can sustain over several meals without refrigeration. Wild plants and weeds supplemented starvation rations. Dandelion leaves, chickweed, sorrel, and other edible weeds became critical supplements. Families learned to identify these plants, preparing them raw in salads or cooked in stews. Notably, they provided essential vitamins absent from rationed foods, such as vitamin C, which was crucial to prevent scurvy. Step 1 for applying this knowledge today is studying local flora and keeping a reference guide of safe edible plants in your area. Understanding preparation methods, like boiling sorrel to reduce its acidity, mirrors techniques families used in wartime isolation. Root vegetables became the foundation of many forgotten meals. Beets, turnips, and parsnips were versatile, storing well through the winter and providing energy-dense meals. Families often roasted, boiled, or mashed these roots, sometimes mixing them with small amounts of fat or flour to extend their caloric value. A practical takeaway for today is learning how to store root vegetables long-term without modern refrigeration, and experimenting with creative preparation to keep diets varied under constrained conditions. Foraged nuts and seeds were more than snacks. They were protein sources. Hazelnuts, walnuts, sunflower seeds, and even acorns were collected in bulk and incorporated into porridges, breads, and stews. Roasting and grinding them increased digestibility and shelf life. These additions were crucial to prevent protein deficiency, especially in families without access to meat. Anyone interested in historical survival can try storing a variety of nuts and learning to roast or grind them safely for use in emergency rations. Homemade fermented foods preserve nutrition and extended meals. Sauerkraut, pickled cucumbers, and even fermented root vegetable dishes were staples. Fermentation not only preserved food, but also boosted its nutritional value through probiotics. A practical application is to master simple fermentation at home. Cabbage and root vegetables can be transformed into long-lasting meals that mirror the ingenuity of WWII families. Foraged mushrooms and fungi were cautiously used to supplement diets. Mushrooms were highly valued, but required exact knowledge to avoid poisoning. Families relied on local expertise to identify edible species, creating stews or drying mushrooms for later use. Today, mushroom identification courses or field guides are essential for anyone attempting to replicate these survival meals safely. Potato peel pancakes were made by mixing leftover peels with flour and any available fat. They were fried or baked and served as a staple for families with limited supplies. This technique demonstrates how zero-waste thinking kept families fed during scarcity. Practicing this today helps build skills in maximizing available resources, an essential survival mindset. Milk substitutes were created from grains and nuts when dairy was scarce. Families often soaked oats, barley, or nuts to create thin, drinkable milks. These provided calcium and protein for children and adults alike, maintaining health when cow or goat milk was unavailable. Modern survival enthusiasts can experiment with nut milks or oat milks, understanding preparation techniques that maximize nutrient retention and flavor in austere conditions. The ingenuity, patience, and knowledge embedded in these meals reflect the harsh reality of wartime survival and the resourcefulness required to endure isolation. By studying these forgotten strategies, we gain insight into both history and practical survival skills. If you found this exploration valuable, subscribe to After the Sirens for more deep dives into WWII. Tradindo mai antabusensen, and tendazans share the disease. Share this guide with fellow history buffs. Comment below with which of these meals you would try to recreate and keep the legacy of wartime ingenuity alive.